Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Okay, thanks for coming. For today, we are looking for sampling. What is sampling? Basically, sampling is a systematic approach or process of selecting a subset of individual cases or units. Okay, basically from a larger population in order to make a valid, reliable, and also you need to generalize some inferences about the entire population. Sometimes it is impossible or impractical to study every member of the population. That's why sampling become a cornerstone of scientific research. By the way, a sample is the miniature representation of a population, and the quality of your conclusion are also depending on how accurate the sample reflects. This one sometimes the postgraduate student are missing to do some reporting of sampling. And then if you ask why sampling is important, first is for the feasibility and practicality. To study entire population, for example, Malaysian, all donors, all basically illiterate, for example, illiterate student and so on, is usually impossible due to the resources, and then secondly is the financial, and then sampling makes research more manageable. Secondly, cost and time efficiency, because a smaller representative sample reduce times, manpower, and also financial costs, like I said before, without compromising the accuracy. Okay, this one is very important for sampling. And then number three is to improve the data quality. With a few cases, researchers can also ensure the high quality measurement, especially for method requiring detailed analysis such as geometric morphometrics, radiographic tracing, and morphometric measurement. Okay. Footnote. Okay, for today, we are the learning objective to know participant, okay, to know sample, understand how differentiation between sampling procedures, and define a meaning of population and sample, explain the sampling process in data collection, and apply appropriate sampling strategy. So far, any question? Ranusha? Ranusha ada kan tadi? Oh, dah left. Apply the appropriate sampling strategy lah. For type of sampling, we have a lots of type of sampling. First, we have probability random sampling. Okay, and then we have non-probability sampling. Later we see this one. The key concept of sampling is population. Okay, and then you need the framework, a list of population member. Okay, for example, you sample from the 2021 until 2025, and then please ensure also the sample size determined through the statistical calculation. Okay, for example, G power G power to ensure the power and precision factor included expected effect size and so on. And then you also need to consider the sampling bias and representative. Okay. So far, do you have any question? Is it okay? Okay, this one is acceptance of artificial intelligence among the pre-service teacher. For example, this one is multi-group analysis. The study carried out during the winter semester in 2021 to 2022 at university in Germany. Data was collected by using online questionnaire, and then all participants were student enrolled in teacher education program. Okay, a survey was sent using platform called Unipark Quest EFS. Okay, this one is the collection. Meaning the researcher used the online survey system to gather information from teacher trainee at only one university. For the ethical approval and data protection, the University Data Protection Office reviewed and approved the research. Okay. The number of participants. Okay, you need to write down the number of participants. The survey was sent to 712 students. Okay, and then the researcher received for 452 complete response. 452 is around 63.48%. Okay, the response rate, meaning more than half of students who are invited actually finish the survey. Who are the participants? Okay, who are the participants here? Anita, who is the participant here? Anita, are you there? Fadnin, who is the participant here?
The teacher, Doctor.
The pre-service teacher.
Okay, pre-service teacher. Okay, but you can categorize pre-service teacher from different programs. We have primary school education. We have a lower school education, 44 students, secondary school education, and grammar school education. The details that you need to know is 71.9% is were female, and the average, the mean age was 21.31 years. And most of the students were the first year students. Okay, okay, for the summary, we can see the researchers conduct online survey with teachers trainee at the German university. They are collected data ethically and anonymously. More than 450 students responded. Most of them are young women in various teacher education programs. Yes, any question? Yeah, previous teacher. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Doctor,
if
let's say we are writing any any research or any writings, is it we have to write it in this kind of form, or we just can put
No, it is for your own is it for your own notes?
No, I mean like they say here from
yes, later you need to report. You need to report in detail like this.
So you don't have to put like numbers, but you have to put in the bracket, you put n and
it's up to you if you want to put it in let's say pie chart, bar chart.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, this one is in the study we selected 95 primary and secondary school teacher online training course. This one is the social comparison feedback. Okay. Okay, for this one, what type of sampling? Okay. For this one, what type of study sampling?
Is it random sampling?
Okay, another question, another answer?
Or selective sampling.
Okay. Later I explain. Okay. And another answer. Okay, first we can use the convenient sampling, most likely. Why? Because the researcher use the student who are already enrolled in the teacher education. For some reason, you need to justify why you use that sampling. First, you explain in general, and then after that, you need to highlight. Because for example, they invited everyone who was available in the course of the program. For example, for this case, this common education and research, because it's practical and easy to gather who are easiest to reach, those are already in their classes or program. Or else you can use the voluntary response sampling. Why? Because the student choose to participate on their own. Okay, only those who are willing completed the online questionnaire through the Questback EFS. Okay, simple explanation. Student decided by themselves whether they wanted to take a part in the study. Thirdly, you can also use the purposive sampling. Later I explain what is purposive sampling and so on. For now, the researcher specifically targeted pre-service teacher. Purposive, which means that you target your area, not all students in the university. This is a form of purposive sampling because only people with certain characteristics. For example, here is the pre-service teachers, teachers training who were included. And then you can also use census sampling, partial sampling, because they invited all the pre-service teachers in that semester. However, since not everyone responded, it became the census attempt, but with a voluntary participation. Okay. And then you need to identify what sampling that you use, but you must also question why it is fit to that group. Okay. Okay, this one is another slide. Okay, if you have any question, you can ask me. This one is basically is a simple explanation. Okay, social comparative feedback in online teaching, the teacher training and impact on asynchronous collaboration. Okay, for this one, this paragraph describe the research study about the online teacher training and how the social comparison feedback. What is the problem here? Can you explain what is the problem here? Ashwini? Ashwini, are you there?
Yes, Doctor.
What is the main problem here? Okay, first one is the low student engagement. Secondly, I think is the weak interaction. Yeah, limited learner engagement, weak interaction between participants, okay, and less effective collaboration because you are doing the online. Okay, and then what did the researcher did is they select the 95 primary and secondary school teachers who are taking online training courses. So the participants were firstly is the real teachers, primary and secondary. Secondly, enroll in online training program, must enroll. and then the total participant will be 95 lah. How the study was conducted? Okay, how was the study conducted? Any of you can answer? Mastura? How the study was conducted? Okay, okay. Any question? Any answer?
I think the researcher is comparing between the experimental group and control group.
Yes, correct. Thank you. They're using the randomized control trial, RCT design. That means that, as you said, the participants were randomly divided into two groups. Experimental group is to receive the social comparison feedback. Okay, and then the other group will be a control group lah. The receive normal feedback only about themselves lah. Okay, by comparing these two groups, researcher could see whether the social comparison feedback made some differences lah. Okay, and then what are they measured? Fiza, are you there? What actually they measured?
Hi, Doctor.
What actually they measured?
Maybe because they use the epistemic network.
Epistemic network, and then like sequential analysis and social network analysis lah. But simple term, they are looking for how teacher interacted, because we have asynchronous collaboration phases, challenges lah. They said learner engagement and so on, and then how much the student collaborated, and how their behavior changed during the online activities. These three measurement you should take it into consideration. Okay. And what they found? What they have found? What is the simple result from this research? No, Shraida? Okay, what is the result of this?
Collaboration learnings.
Yes, okay, thank you. Correct. Okay, collaboration in online learning, which means that the teachers became more engaged, and then the interaction are more, and then they work better in asynchronous, in basically in online learning environment lah. Okay. Okay, a simple summary. The researchers studied 95 schools teacher in online course, and then they split into the two groups. One received the comparison, one received the treatment, and the other one is how they perform compared to others. The study also found this type of feedback help teachers collaborate better during the online learning. Okay, Hanim, ada nak tanya?
Prof, dekat sini kan ada 95 orang sampel.
Okay.
And then dalam 95 orang ni mereka akan dibahagikan kepada dua grup. Ataupun satu grup akan ada 95 orang, Prof. Maksudnya 95 experimental group, 95 control group ke macam mana, Prof?
Tak, ya. Okay.
Okay, dan kalaulah contohnya 95 dibahagikan kepada dua, jumlah jumlah peserta kajian dalam grup tu tak seimbang. Tak apa ke, Prof?
It's not a balance. Okay. Okay, for that type of question, if you look the sample, selected 95. Okay, it is okay. Yes, for me it's okay because it's absolutely acceptable in the research to have unequal sample size in experimental and control group. For example, for this one, we have 95, good question. When divided into two groups, one group will be naturally have 48 and one group will be 47 because we have 95 or something similar. It's not a problem at all for me because you are doing the randomized control trial RCT. Participants are assigned randomly and then random assignment does not guarantee equal numbers. If you do the random sampling, also you can have others like 50 or 40 split. And then in modern comparison, statistical, for example, if you do the t-test, ANOVA and regression and so on, do not require perfectly equal group size. But they have some catch here. First, sample size are not extremely different. For example, if you do 100, for first group is 60 and 80, the second group is 20. Okay. And then number two, the catch here is you use the random assignment. And then for me, if you go for the result is remain valid. Okay. If you do the, let's say 80-20, for example, 100 students, for this one, let's say you have 75 and 20, the difference is affected the statistical power. If you do the calculation, it will affect your statistical power because uneven classes differences is too big and different number of teachers and voluntary participation. Imbalance is for me like one or two differences is okay lah. Okay, unbalanced or unequal group will be the problem. Let's say group A is 80, group B is 15. It is very unbalanced lah. Okay, is it okay?
Okay, Prof.
Okay.
Ada soalan lagi boleh, Prof?
Boleh.
Jadi daripada 95 orang peserta kajian tersebut, mereka akan dibahagikan kepada dua grup. Maksudnya akan ada ketetapan ke mana masuk, peserta mana yang masuk group eksperimen, peserta mana yang masuk control group, ataupun just random pilih? Maksudnya sampling dalam sampling ke?
Okay, dia depend it depend on your cases lah. Random sampling biasanya normally is dia ada dia punya syarat lah. They have random assignment condition later we see this one for avoiding the bias you can split the experienced and unexperienced participant evenly. Okay. You control the intervention. You need to control the intervention, which means that if 48 and 47, you are divided equally for the, like say, experience and then the characteristic, okay, and then what is, for example, male and female, okay, you what factor that you can control lah. Okay, is it okay? You need to control the intervention to avoid the bias. Boleh ke?
Okay, Prof. Jelas.
That one will be asked if you are Viva. Okay, for example, if you split evenly, why you choose the evenly? Okay, what criteria that you have been used? Okay, how do you avoid the bias? Okay. For example, how do you control the external and internal factors to control the population, the sampling, and so on? Okay. Okay, for this one, Okay, mediation, moderation effect of engagement, foreign language enjoyment and ambiguity tolerance in metaverse-based foreign language learning. Okay, why choose the university students? Because the researchers selected university students because our metaverse is often used in higher education. Okay, and then you should give some references, the latest references. And then number 2, university learning encourages interaction, problem solving, and also active learning. And then students at this level are also familiar with the technology-based environment, technology savvy. Simple explanation that you can give in a simple meaning. University students fit well with metaverse learning because they are already used or applied technology and engaged in active learning. How many participants join? We have 686 participants or students. This student answered an online questionnaire as a part of the research. What was collected? We have demographic information like gender, okay, 367 females and 309 males. Okay, and then the age also split into 3 categories, which means that 19 to 28 years old, which the average is 23.1. And then standard deviation is shows the differences between the age is basically 2.7. Between the age is from 19 to 28. For example, they have differences like 19 to 21, 21 to 25, and so on. The variation in age. Field of study came from different programs, including the philosophy, okay, we have economic and so on, until arts. A simple explanation, participants represented many different academic backgrounds, making the study more diverse and meaningful. What is important for the research? Having many students from different levels mean that improve the generalization of the finding, and also help the researcher understand metaverse learning across various disciplines. Okay, can you explain what type of sampling use of this study use? Can somebody explain? Anita, do you have any idea? What type of sampling used in this case? It's not that accessible. It's some sort like convenient sampling. It's most accurate. The researcher chose university student because they were easily accessible. You can use accessible sampling, but in terms of research, you can use the convenient sampling. You can also highlight the text. From the text, the author choose. Okay, in your research, basically when you choose some sample from the representative population, you should use convenient sampling. The student currently enrolled, and then the survey recruited whoever was available and willing. This definition of convenient sampling, because selecting participants who are easy to reach and accessible. And then you can also combine with voluntary response sampling. This one is not random sampling because there is no evidence of random sampling, stratified sampling, and also cluster sampling. or sometimes we call it as a systematic sampling. Okay, simple explanation. I think the student use convenient sampling because the researcher selected university students who are easy to access. Okay, and then if you need academic sentence for this one, I think the study employed convenient sampling as university students were selected based on selected suitability metaverse-based learning. Additionally, participants who are voluntarily making the voluntary response simple. Okay. What is the strength and weakness of this convenient sampling? Okay, for the strength and weakness, as you can see, they have strength and weakness for the convenient sampling. Okay, the strength is easy to conduct and time efficient. Okay, because metaverse student often require large sample size. And then cost effective because no extra cost is required or needed to recruit the participant. And then high response rate because the student successfully recruited 686 participants. Can participant fit the research context because they are already used. Okay, please make sure when you use when you want to use the sampling technique, make sure the participant is use the platform or not. And then also engagement. Engagement also important. And they represent typical metaverse users. What is the weakness of convenient sampling? Convenient sampling does not represent the entire population. Okay. And then secondly, the bias, selection bias. Self-selection bias, which means that participant may more motivated, enjoy the technology, and then have more positive attitude towards metaverse learning. Okay, this one is the disadvantage. And then sampling bias, because the sample is not randomly selected. Okay, certain group may be over presented. Okay, over represented. Secondly, is more females than males. Okay, some fields are more active than others. Okay, and then for me, when you do the convenience sampling, it cannot claim strong effect. Okay, meaning that the finding describe the sample well, but cannot fully represent all learners. Okay, any questions so far? Is it okay for this one? This one is example. Example. Later we see this one in detail. Okay. Is qualitative study. Okay, this one is for qualitative study. Okay, 13 participants were recruited, including clinical and non-clinical participants working for NHS and researcher working to develop AI tools for healthcare setting. Based on this slide, what study that they are using? Qualitative lah, of course lah. And then for the sampling technique, what sampling technique you might think they are using? Sarmila?
Yes, doctor.
Are you there?
Okay. Yes, doctor.
What sampling that you might think of this qualitative?
13 participants. I think so. Purpose sampling, doctor, it cannot be random because it's
yes.
reflecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay, because you need to purposive sampling is used when the researcher intentionally select the people have specific knowledge, have direct experience, and also they are stakeholder in the topic. In this case, the researcher wanted the people who uses AI in healthcare, people who are develop AI for healthcare, and then the other one is the people who are work in NHS setting. Depending on how participants were contacted, it may also include, you can also use snowball sampling. But the main method is clearly, for me, is clearly the purposive sampling. Okay, any question is okay? Some of you might blur, never mind. Okay, we go for this one step by step. If you have any question, you can ask. Okay, population. Population basically is a participant that you want to generalize from the result. Okay. Easy example, population. For example, all primary school teachers in Malaysia is all population. Okay, you are not studying all of them directly, but you pick some group that you want to generalize to your result. For example, you pick in the 4 zones. For example, in the east zone, okay, center zone, and so on. Okay, you are not studying all of them, and then for the sample is a smaller group taken from population that you will actually study. Basically, it's subset of that population. For example, in easy way that from all primary school teachers in Malaysia, you can select 200 teachers to participate. This 200 teacher is your sample. And participant is each individual person who are provide data for your study. For example, each teacher who answer your questionnaire or interview is a participant. So, for example, population is all teachers. Sample the selected of 200 teachers. Participant is each of 200 individuals who actually take part of your questionnaire. Simple analogy. Population is the whole jar. The whole jar. Sample is handful sweet that you take out, and participant each sweet in your handful. Okay. Short summary, I think easy to remember. Population is entire group that you want to generalize. Sample is subgroup that you want to study, and participant is person who provide the data. Okay, what is the main purpose of sampling? Is it okay until now? Okay, the main purpose of sampling. Later I give you lots of exercise. Okay, in Wakelet. Later I upload the question in Wakelet. Sampling is used in research to make study easier, faster, and more meaningful. Okay, some sample size also you can use from KG and Morgan table in 1970. Later, I give you guide how you want to determine the sample size and so on. Okay, to generalize the finding, which means that you take result from small group sample and apply to bigger group population. Example, if you study 200 teachers, you hope the result can represent all teachers in that district or country. Basically, 200 sampling is is I think is not enough to represent all teachers in the district or country. And then number 2 is to reduce the cost and save time, because studying all the entire population I think is crazy lah. Okay, because you need a lot of cost, too expensive, too time consuming, okay, and sometimes impossible lah. And then number 3, to ensure the reliability and validity, to give some accurate result to represent the population fairly lah. In short, sampling is used to apply the result to a bigger group. Okay, number 2 is to save time and money, and number 3 to improve the accuracy and trustworthiness in your study lah. Okay. Okay, this one is quantitative. Okay, quantitative sampling. For each of these, I will give you some example. This one qualitative, this one quantitative. Any question? Okay, in sampling technique, we have random and non-random. And then for random, we have simple, systematic, stratified, and cluster. And then for non-random, we have convenience, purposeful, and quota. Okay, for random sampling, sometimes we call it as a probability sampling. Okay, first, the simple random sampling. Okay, simple random sampling means that every individual in the population has equal chance of being selected. For example, you have a list of 500 students, form 4 students in school. You randomly select 100 names. Okay, this one is random. Random for simple. Okay. 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 For example, subset of statistical population which each member of subset has equal probability of being chosen. Basically, you can pick one. Okay. How it works? It create a sampling frame. Okay, you assign a unique identifier. Okay, each member with a unique number or name. And then for the selected sample, you can also use the lottery method. Okay, lottery method, for example, write each identifier on a piece of paper, mix them thoroughly and in a container, and draw out a required number of names or number to form the sample. And then random number generator, use the computer list or a list random number to select the participant from your list. Okay, the key characteristic for simple random sampling is the equal probability. Okay, each member of population has the same chance to being chosen. Reduce bias. Okay, require a complete list, but you need the complete list. For let's say you have 100 names. You have equal. Each participant have equal chances. Okay, and then you can be selected using computer. Okay, by using the lottery method. Okay, I give you the notes for simple random sampling in your in your in your Telegram. Can you see the the notes in your Telegram. Boleh nampak ke? That one is simple simple random sampling. Okay, we go for systematic sampling. Okay, systematic sampling is probability sampling method which researchers select members of the population in a regular interval or K determined in advance lah. If the population order is random or random like for example alphabetical then this method will give you a representative sample that can be used to draw conclusion about your population interest. Okay, first you define the population, secondly decide on the sample size, okay, and then calculate the sampling interval, population estimation, and then lastly select every K member and collect the data. Okay, for example, like this. This one is systematic sampling. Okay, systematic sampling. Okay. Okay, first you need to define the population. Secondly, create the list. Step number 3 is calculate the sampling interval, divide the population size n by desired sample small n to find the K. If the result is not a whole number, round it to nearest integer. And step 4 is to choose the random starting point. And then step 5 is to select the remaining individual. Okay, when to use the systematic sampling? First, when the complete list of population is available, this is a practical and efficient method when you have access to a detailed list of individuals. When you need a simple, efficient method for large population, it can be imitate the randomization benefit in simple random sampling, but is often less time consuming. For example, a systematic sampling, all employees of company are listed in alphabetical order. From the first 10 numbers, you can randomly select the starting point. For example, number 6. From number 6 onward, every 10 person on the list is selected. For example, 6, 16, 26, 36 and so on. You need to define the interval. Can you understand or not? Systematic means that you have your own procedure. You need to determine the population of sample size, and then you calculate the intervals for each list. For example, if you want to calculate in interval of 6, okay, 6, 12, 18, 36, and so on. Farmila, are you okay with that? Okay, when should I use the systematic sampling? Researchers should use systematic sampling instead of simple random sampling when a project is on tight budget or require a short timeline. Okay, you can use the systematic sampling. Other name for systematic sampling is equal probability sampling, also known as EPSAM. Is another name, equal probability sampling. Equal probability sampling, or the other name is systematic sampling. Is it okay? Faida? Boleh ke? Hanim?
Okay, Prof.
Okay. Kalau ada soalan boleh tanya lah. And then the third one will be stratified sampling. Stratified sampling, which means that you divide the population into groups or you strata lah, then randomly sample from each group to ensure the equal representation. For example, if you want to equal number of male and female students for a study on mathematics anxiety, for example, you choose 200 male student and 300 female student. You randomly select 50 male student and 50 female student to ensure the gender balance. Okay, this one is stratified. Okay, how to do the stratified? Okay, I give you the this one is stratified. When to use stratified? To use stratified sampling, you need to be able to divide your population into mutually exclusive and exhaustive group. That means every member of the population can be clearly classified into exactly one subgroup. Okay, you based on your characteristic. Stratified sampling is best choice among the probability sampling method when you believe that subgroup will have different mean value of the variable you are studying in several potential advantage. Okay, ensuring the diversity of your sample, ensuring the similar variance and lowering the overall variance in one population. For example, if you are studying how new schooling program affect the test score of children, both came from their original score and any chance in score and most likely be high correlated with the family income. The score are likely to be grouped by family income category like M40 and B40. In this case, stratified sampling allows you for more precise measure of variable you wish to study. Okay, for example, you have B40 and M40. How to explain? Wait. Okay, M40 and social economic status. Okay, you want to sampling for B40 and M40. Okay, stratified sampling. Okay, for example, B40 is bottom 40% of household income and M40 is middle 40% of household income. Okay, and then you should have some knowledge because the income is different. Secondly, the social opportunity also different, and also social risk differences are also different. For example, is bully risk. Okay, the education. Okay, and then for the mental healthness also. Okay, and then the way you want to use the stratified sampling for B40 and M40. Okay. Okay, first you need to apa yang baru datang ni? Okay, first you need to do the stratified sampling step by step. I give you step by step. Identify the population. First example, from the area, for example, you have 3,000 parents in the district. Step 2, you divide the population into strata. Basically, you can quote from the DOSM based on official incomes category from the DOSM. Is B40 is around 2,800 until 4,850 lah. For M40 is 451, 4,851 until 10,000. An example of population distribution is 3,000 individual as group for B40, and M40 is 40%. Okay, and then step number 3 is you determine the sample size. Example, total sample size required is 200 respondent. Why? Because you are looking for Crazy and Morgan, Morgan table. Okay, so Crazy and Morgan table sample size. Oh, this one kita nak tengok. Mana? Okay. Okay, for example, if you look Crazy and Morgan sample size is N, basically N. And here, for example, you have 5,000. You can choose the N sample size is 95. Why? Because you are looking for from Crazy and Morgan. Is it okay for stratified sampling? Okay, and then allocate the sample using proportionate stratification. For example, you have 60% from 95 is how many? Cuba kira jap. How many? 60% from 95. $57, okay, and the rest is 40%. And then select the respondent randomly, which is stratum. Use the simple random sampling or systematic sampling. Okay, this one is what we call as stratified. Okay, stratified. Okay, is it okay? Boleh ke? This one is stratified. Okay, sampling. And then the last one is the cluster sampling. Cluster sampling, the researcher divide a population into smaller group known as cluster. Okay, and then cluster sampling is method of probability sampling that often used to study large population, particularly that those who are widely geographical dispersed. Okay, this one is cluster sampling. I give the notes to Telegram. Okay, cluster sampling. Okay, step 1 is you must begin with the clearly defining the population that you wish to study. Okay, and then divide your sample into cluster. Okay, each cluster population should be diverse as possible. Diverse, which means that you need to drag it out. Then please ensure that when you use clustering, there is no any overlap between cluster. For example, same people, same criteria do not appear twice in that one cluster. Okay, and then step number 2, cluster the population. Your cluster, for example, 7th grade by school they attend. To cover the whole population, you need to include every school in the city. Okay, every school. This one is cluster. There is no overlap because each student attend only one school. Okay. Number 3 is randomly select the cluster to use your sample. If cluster is a mini representation, you you need to imitate a simple random sampling. Number 3 is randomly select the cluster. Okay, you pick one. Okay, randomly and collect the data from the sample. Okay, you test the reading. For example, you test the reading level of every 7 grader in the school. For example, Form 4 or Form Standard 1 or Standard 2. That you are randomly selected for your sample. And then other step is double stage cluster sampling. Okay, or else you can call it as a multi-stage sampling. This one, instead of collecting data for every standard 1 or standard 2, you can narrow down your sample into 2 additional stages. First, from each school, you randomly select the sample of first grade class, and then within those classes, you randomly select sample of student. Okay, that one is multi-stage sampling in the cluster sampling. Okay. Advantage, okay, cluster sampling is time and cost efficient, especially for samples that are widely dispersed. Okay, for example, if you want to study a student who are excellent in maths, okay, in for example in Selangor district. Okay. Okay, any question? Okay, cluster sampling for standard 1 student, what I said in math, okay, you can use cluster sampling, or else you can use cluster multi-stage sampling. Okay, first you divided the population into a natural group, clusters such as school, classes, and zone or district, and then define the problem. For example, all standard 1 students are in a certain area. Number 3, you decide what will be your cluster. For example, is primary school 1 cluster. All standard 1 student in that school belong to that cluster. And then number 2 is classes. For example, each standard 1 class is 1 cluster. Example 1A, 1B, 1C. Okay, and list all cluster in sampling frame. For example, SK Shah Alam, standard 1A, 1B, 1C, standard, and then sekolah kebangsaan section 5 misal kata. For example, we have standard 1A, 1B, 1C and so on. Okay, and then number 5, decide how many cluster you want to select. Okay, for example, you decide to select 4 from 8 cluster and select cluster randomly. Okay, using you can use the random number or you can use the random number generator, or you can use SPSS or Excel to generate the sampling. Is it okay, Puan Mastura? Okay, maybe after that I give you some example. Okay, and then we have non-random sampling. Non-random sampling is non-probability sampling. Participants do not have equal chances of being selected. This one is often used when convenient or access matter. Okay, first one is convenient sampling. Convenient sampling, for definition, you choose the participants who are easiest to access. For example, a lecturer gives a survey to students in her own class because of the tight schedule, because of the of the time consuming and so on. Okay, convenient sampling. Okay, when to use the convenient sampling is often used in qualitative and also qualitative study lah. Okay. Okay, for example, convenient sampling. Student motivation and student achievement in AI. Okay, convenient sampling for student motivation and student achievement in AI. Convenient sampling is non-probability sampling method that researchers select participants who are easy accessible, readily available, and willing to participate. Okay, and then for example, you want to use the AI-related educational study. You need to have some criteria. For example, students who are already exposed to AI tools, group who are available in specific session. For example, for those who attend the workshop, classes, and so on. Okay, step by step for convenient sampling. Please write down some notes. Step 1 is to define the purpose of the study. Example, the relationship between student motivation and student achievement in using AI tool for learning. Number 2 is identify easily accessible group. For example, student from your own AI class, student who attend your AI workshop, student at the school of AI club, student who are completing project in your lab, and so on. Number 3 is collect the data immediately from the available student. You may distribute the questionnaire, the short quiz of AI, okay, AI practical guideline, Google form, and so on. Step number 4 is to measure student motivation. Common tool, you can use the Likert scale, okay, Likert skills questionnaire. Okay, you can administer during the class, during the workshop. Step number 5 to measure student achievement in AI. And then final step to analyze the relationship. Whether the highly motivated students score higher in AI tasks and so on. Okay, that one is convenient sampling. Is it okay? Convenient. Okay, convenient to you lah. Any questions so far? Is it okay? Miss Anita? Secondly is purposive sampling. Is it okay for you?
Is it okay, sir?
Purposive sampling. Purposive sampling is you need to select the participant because they have specific characteristic that you need for your study. For example, you interview the excellent teacher who recently won the teacher's innovation to understand the effective teaching strategy for innovation, for example. Okay, that one is we call it as purposeful. Purposeful.
Doctor?
Yeah.
Like just now, doctor said about the innovation. The purposeful is, can you give me example, doctor?
Example? Yeah, I give you example.
Innovation, is it?
Yeah. Sometimes it will call as a purposive sampling. Purposive sampling is for the random sampling, which are selected because of your purpose.
Okay.
Also called sometimes it called as a judgmental sampling because sampling method rely on the researcher judgment.
Okay.
That you are identifying, you are selecting the individual cases or sometime event that can provide the best information Purposive sampling, I think is quite common to qualitative research and also mixed method research if you want to use the purposive.
Okay, doctor.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, doctor.
Okay. When to use the purposive sampling, like I explained to you. Okay, and then purposive sampling method and example. For example, we have homogeneous and heterogeneous sampling. Okay, but before that, we need to understand the maximum variation sampling. Maximum variation sampling, also known as heterogeneous sampling, is used to capture the widest range of perspective possible. Okay, I give you an example. Okay, okay, for example, a researcher want to select participants who are differ in, for example, learning style. Okay, learning style and also gender. Okay. That one is quite common. Okay, learning style and gender. Okay, for the purposeful. Okay, first, that one is we call it as okay. How different learning style and gender influence student experience using AI in learning mathematics, for example. What you want to capture is two perspective, learning style and gender, boys or girls. First, you need to define your population. Okay. Who are you studying? Example, all Form 2 student, all Standard 5 student. Your population is your frame, your framework. Number 2 is decide the dimension of variation. Here, you want to maximize the variation. For example, learning style. Okay, you want to study the kinesthetic, and then number 2 is the gender. Step number 3 is identify the learning style screening phase. Before sampling, you must know each student learning style. You can use the VARC questionnaire, or you can ask teacher to help to classify. But that type of screening is less ideal, but sometimes it's very useful because the teachers knows more about their students. From the questionnaire, you can categorize students from visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, read and write learners. Okay, for example, learning style, visual, boys 12, girls 10, or auditory, boys 8, girls 15, and so on. Step 4 is plan your maximum variation sample. For example, if you decide to take 2 boys or 2 girls from each learning style, you must not aiming for representative. You're aiming for diversity of perspective. Okay. Step 5 to select the specific student within each category. Okay. Purposive. Purposive. You need to categorize. Okay. Later, I explain. Choose student with different achievement level. For example, high, medium, low. Okay. For example, from 12 visual boys, can select one higher achiever in math, one lower achiever in math, and so on. Step 6 is to collect the data from the interview, from the survey. And then step 7 is analyze the similarity and differences. Okay. And step 8, clearly explain in methodology section. Okay. And then the last one will be quota. Quota sampling is select the set number of participants from different category but not randomly. For example, if you want to sample 200 students with 100 male and 100 female, you need to recruit participants until the quota in each category is filled. But they are not choosing, you choose randomly. Okay. Okay, quota sampling lah. When to use quota sampling is used for both qualitative and quantitative lah, in order to gain insight about the characteristic of particular subgroup or investigate the relationship between different subgroup lah. It is most commonly used in research study where there is no sampling frame available. Still, it can help researcher to obtain a sample, but it representative as possible of population being studied. This one is cannot be generalized. Okay. Okay, I give you example of quota sampling. Okay, quota sampling, for example, used to characteristic, for example, gender, class level, achievement level. The selection criteria is not random selection. First, you need to, for example, study title is student motivation in using AI tool for learning mathematics. The quota set, you want to equal number for each boy and girl. Okay, boy 50, girl 50. It is quota. How it works? You can go up to 3 different schools. You can take any available boys until you reach 50, or you can take any available girls until you reach 50 until it fulfill the quota. Okay, and then you can also use the quota to measure the achievement level. For example, higher achiever 30 student, medium achiever 30 student, and low achiever 30 student. How data is being collected is you use the exam result. Okay, for example, you are using UASA result, approaches student conveniently during the class, or continue until each group reach its quota. Or else you can use quota sampling by school type. For example, SMK 40 student, MRSM 20 student, private school 20 student, SMKA 20 student, and so on. Or else you can use the quota sampling by socio-economic status, SES. For example, impact of online homework on M40 and B40 student engagement. Okay. Or else you can use the quota by learning style using VAC. Okay. VAC is visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and read and write. Okay, any question? Quota? Okay, we have convenient, we have purposeful, we have quota. This one is non-random sampling. Okay, qualitative sampling, we have criteria, typical case, extreme case, critical case, negative case, maximum variation, snowball, and opportunistic. Later I explain this one. Okay. Mixed method sampling. We have sequential, exploratory, and concurrent. This one random sampling. Okay, simple. Okay, list, definitions, systemic sampling. Okay. Okay, certified random. Okay, certified random sampling. Doktor dalam satu kajian boleh guna lebih daripada satu jenis sampling ke ni? Okay, untuk dalam untuk sampling I think you can use you can combine one or two sampling but you can identify first either you use qualitative or quantitative. But if you use the exploratory qualitative, you can use purposive sampling ataupun maximum variation sampling for interview. Or else you can use purposive sampling for teachers and then stratified sampling for students. Okay, you can use. Okay, but you if you choose one or more sampling technique, you should have a clear understanding. Okay, later I give you example of my students lah, external examiner student. They are doing three sampling technique. Two for quantitative and one for qualitative. Okay, if you use qualitative plus quantitative, you can use two lah. Either for qualitative you can use purposive, quantitative you can use simple random, stratified or systemic. Qualitative you can use purposive, maximum variation and snowball. Okay, and then it's not recommended. It's not recommended if your sampling is for example, if you use stratified and at the same time you want to use snowball in the same group, it's not recommended because you are liquidating the origin of the sample. Is it okay? Dr. Intan, is it okay? Okay, if you use quantitative and qualitative, of course you can use both. Okay, one for quantitative and one for qualitative. Okay, for this one, stratified random. Okay, what is stratified random sampling? Is population divided into subgroup lah. Okay, we call it as strata. Okay, based on criteria or characteristic lah. Okay, participants are selected randomly from each subgroup. Okay, why use stratified random sampling? Because to avoid too many students from one gender. Okay, or too many students from one age group or too many students from one field. Okay, first step one to identify the population. Okay, all students. Okay, number two to create the group strata lah. You divide it into groups lah, female and male lah. Number three to select the random sample from each group. Okay, randomly is some female you pick. Okay, and then please when you pick the sample, you must know what is your selection criteria and combine. You need to combine lah. The combination is the final sample. You combine the selected male and combine the selected female, boys and girls. The key point is gender get represented in the sample. Okay, for example, you have population 200 students. These students are divided into two characteristics. First is the age. Second is gender. Stratified by gender, population is divided into three subgroups. First, 21 to 25 years old, 26 to 34 years old, and 35 plus. Okay, total is 200. Okay, make sure it's 200. Do not count 100, 60 and 50. And the total will be 210. Make sure all of this is 200. And then you stratify by gender. Okay. Okay, randomly select equal sample. Okay, for example, this one you select sample 10, 10, 10, 10. Why equal? Because to ensure subgroup has same representation. This one is important. When examiner asks, why you use the sample evenly? Some of you can answer, some of you cannot answer lah. Okay, simple example in education. Okay, this one why use stratified random sampling is important to ensure fair representation. No group is left out. Okay, use reduce the sampling bias. Okay. Okay, for stratified random sampling is equal to divide population into group and then randomly pick from each group and then combine. Any question? Is it okay? Okay, what analysis that you want to study from stratified random sampling is basically to compare different subgroup to ensure subgroup is represented fairly. First, you need when you want to analyze, you analyze the mean, standard deviation, frequency, and percentage. For example, you analyze the motivation score for male versus a motivation score for female student. And then you can use the comparative study, okay, sample t-test, okay, male versus female, high achievement achiever versus low achiever, and then you can test for MANOVA first, multivariate ANOVA, and then if it achieves some characteristic, you can use choose ANOVA, analysis of variance. And then number 3, you can also choose the correlation or regression analysis. Okay, this one, and then chi-square test, and then some of the analysis you can use weighted analysis. Okay, cluster sampling. Okay, this one cluster that I explained to you. Okay, this one is cluster sampling procedures. Okay, and then we have confidence sampling. This one is explanation that I gave you. Okay, you can read this one. Maximum variation, snowball effect. Okay, this one is a mixed method sampling. Okay, any questions so far? Is it okay? Okay, for this one, mixed method sampling can be described as how participants are being selected. First, we have time dimension, sequential explanatory, and concurrent. Sequential explanatory is quantitative data is collected first, and then qualitative data is collected second. Okay, sequential exploratory is qualitative data is collected first, and then quantitative data is collected second. And concurrent, qualitative and qualitative data are collected at the same time. Okay. Okay, participant dimension for sequential exploratory is exactly same participant used for both quantitative and qualitative data. For nested is subset of quantitative sample is used for qualitative interviews or focus group. And different is quantitative participant and qualitative participant are from the different group. Okay, putting dimension together, you can see sequential exploratory is identical participant. For example, a study topic student motivation to learn mathematics. 200 students answered the motivation survey. The same 200 students are later interviewed to explain their answer. Sequential explanatory also is nested participant. For example, 200 students take a assigned achievement test for quantitative, and then from 200 students to only 20 students from high, medium, low achiever are selected for interviews to explain the trends. It's not all. It is more on the nested Okay, nested we mean that you categorize. Okay, and then sequential explanatory is, for example, different participant 200 from 5 student complete an online learning readiness survey. Separate to 20 students from another school are interviewed to explore the experience deeper lah. Okay, we have and then the last one is concurrent identical participant. The student answer the questionnaire on the study habit, quantitative, and also in the same time they open ended reflection about the challenges for qualitative. Okay, they have as you can see here, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 combination. Okay, for identical, nested, and different. Okay, this one is just weakness quantitative sampling. Okay. Okay, guideline. For the guideline, the participant in the study should be clearly described. You need to guide the participant first. What you want to do, either quantitative or qualitative. You need to explain. Some of the students, when they crafted or created a questionnaire, it's not clear. The question is not clear. What type of questionnaire they should ask. For example, if you want to do the quantitative, you should write down quantitative. If you want to do the qualitative for interviews and so on, you need to clearly state it. Okay. Okay, this one is a discussion. What is a sample? Why is important to define population as specifically as possible? What is different between random and non-random probability sampling? When should the researcher use stratified random sampling? This one I have explained. Okay, can you do this exercise in Wakelet? Later I give you the platform. Any question? Is it okay?
Doktor,
yes.
Okay, contoh macam saya akan buat satu kajian keberkesanan kepembudayaan aktiviti STEM dalam aktiviti co-curriculum. So I fokus kepada satu sekolah saja. And then that sampling tu mungkin murid yang dalam kelab saja. So let's say we have only 30 students. So is it that number ataupun sampel tu kuat ataupun tidak?
Okay. You nak buat fokus untuk satu sekolah saja?
Ya.
You nak buat apa? Purposive ke?
Dia keberkesanan pembudayaan aktiviti STEM dalam aktiviti co-curriculum terhadap peningkatan literasi STEM. Maksudnya we emphasize STEM activity in co-curriculum dan dia boleh lead to literacy STEM.
Okay, kalau for me is okay because you want to more on the kajian tindakan or small scale research. Is for me 30 student is enough. If your main objective is to see either pre and post in that class only, and if the evaluation of STEM activities for only for that class, okay. Analysis you can use the t-test, score, mean, graph, and also you can add on the teacher reflection, okay. or else you can use the student reflection, interviews or observation.
So lebih kepada kualitatif lah, dia bukan pergi ke kuantitatif.
Bukan. Dia kalau kuantitatif dia tak berapa nak kuat sangat, dia bergantung pada objektif sebenarnya.
Okay.
Kalau kita dah lihat kat sini, kekuatan dia adalah internal validity. Kita boleh lihat apa yang berlaku lah, tapi itu lebih kepada observation. Observation is kualitatif.
Okay.
Pada saya untuk sampling you nak buat convenient
Yes.
Dia 30 is too low lah. Borderline lah. Tapi kalau untuk lihat correlation apa semua, 30 tu nanti dia punya effect size dia ataupun bila you buat analisis nanti dia tak berapa nak strong sangat.
Okay.
Contohnya kalau cikgu nak buat contoh kalau ada 3 kelas you nak ambil 30 orang murid, jadi 90 murid lah. You boleh buat eksperimen ataupun kawalan ataupun cikgu boleh tambah 2-3 sekolah lah untuk ambil setiap satu sekolah tu 1 ataupun 2 kelas. I think it is more proportionate lah. Yang tu lebih reasonable lah.
Okay.
Kalau only one class je saya rasa boleh, tak jadi masalah. Tapi bila untuk buat some generalization bila nanti you buat analisis, you nak buat generalization, dia tak cukup kuat lah. Dia punya effect size tu dia terlampau kecil.
Okay, clear.
Okay, any question?
Hi, Doctor.
Yes.
Can you upload this class recording?
Yes. I will upload.
And
last week.
on your YouTube, there only have week 1.
Okay, I will upload.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, class. I think that's all for today. Later I give you. Yes.
Doktor, saya tak sempat ambil attendance tadi.
Siapa tu?
Muhammad Fadil Iskandar, P1 Muhammad.
Okay, sekejap. Datang